What's up, YouTube? This is Kai Turner. I channeled my inner Magnus in this game, sacrificing literally every piece and still winning. Check it out. Let's see. Let's get that. Let's get that. Okay, you didn't see that. I have to cut that part out. Okay, so started with the normal Borg setup, and he had like this pre-prep tech where he had this V already set up, so I had to attack it, make a little mini V of my own. He takes, I take, takes. Instead of um, moving the bishop, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go for this aggressive approach. Sack the bishop. Intentional. That was intentional. I'm down a queen at this point. More queen and a pawn in terms of material. Take the pawn. He takes back. Okay, cool. Now I move the knight. Normally I just keep the knight there so I can have the knight at the end. But guess what? I said, nah, I want to do it like this. He takes the rook. Retreat queens. Now if you do the material count right now, you notice that I literally only have 2 knights and a rook. He has everything. He has everything and minus a knight. So it's full team versus just 2 lonely knights and a rook. Let's see how this goes. Immediately I have to attack weaknesses. He pushes the pawn. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's rather aggressive. Doesn't take the pawn. And then he's okay, now I'm gonna take the knight. Okay, cool. Take back. Covers the checking square because of course that's what he cares about. Me giving a check. So I say, okay, let me just develop. This move multi-purpose. Um, one of the better moves from the position in terms of the engine. Third best move. Because it basically prevents his knight from moving, which is where you want the knight to be. So he moves anyway. He says, I'll take a crappy square. No worries. Forgot his knight was protecting against the check. But you got to develop though, right? This king move prevents his bishop from developing, which obviously prevents his rook from developing. So even though I'm playing with less pieces, I'm playing with my pieces way smarter. Put the knight here. Block out some more squares from the king, and also threaten to take the pawn. He sees that, so he lets me take the pawn. Get his king out of pressure. He threatens the knight. What do? Oh, according to the engine, I played the best move. You check. Completely ignore that threat. Because of your knight, the king cannot progress on anything on the d file. So he has to go into his little corner. That's where you want him. Now, get your knight into safety. Also protected by the pawn we pushed earlier. And you really would ideal would be to threaten b2. If you could threaten b2, if he moves the bishop, what do you know? He moved the bishop. So now we're threatening b2, which would be perfect because then his king is in your camp. You can just do that. So immediately I push this pawn up solely to block that square for the king. I want to give him as few squares as possible to move. He moves the rook so he can protect that b2 square because he knows how important it is. I immediately move up here. I'm envisioning a check. At this point, I'm just envisioning a check, and he's forced to go maybe to the A file or up. Perfect. He takes. He actually takes. So I take with check. Why is this a nasty move? Because he has to go to the A file. Now, if we look at the position right now, we notice that the evaluation says, well, he's up a queen and a piece, basically. But let's look at where the king can move, though. The knight covers both of the other squares, and the pawn covers the last square. So the king effectively cannot move. And even if he was to push one of that b pawn, well, my rook covers those squares, so he can't move. Okay, that's gonna play later. Immediately, I threaten checkmate. He checks. I get a little nervous right here because I'm like, wait a second. if I'm to get out of this, but without pressuring him at all, maybe he won't see. So I get out of that. And he actually plays rook e1. Rook e1. Checkmate. You literally mated him with a rook, a pawn, and a knight. That might be one of the sickest checkmates I've ever done. All of this material he has up on me, and I mated him with a rook, knight, and a pawn. Wow. Sick mate, I had to put it on there. As always, hit that comment button. Subscribe if you liked it. Hit the like button. Peace.